I thought losing my son would be the worst pain of my life. I was wrong. At his funeral, his wife leaned in and whispered, "Now that your son is dead, pack your bags and get out." Then her boyfriend laughed and said, "It's our house now." That's when I realized I had just buried my son and my entire life. What happened next will shock you. They thought they could take everything from me, but they forgot one thing. I had nothing left to lose. So watch until the end, because you won't believe how this ends. And don't forget to like this video to support the channel and let me know where you're watching from. The priest's voice faded as I stood by the grave, clutching a single white rose in my trembling hand. People murmured prayers, their lips moving without sound in my ears. All I could hear was my heartbeat and the hollow echo of the words on his headstone. Beloved son. I didn't feel the cold wind biting at my face. I didn't feel my knees ache from standing too long. All I felt was emptiness. I bent down and placed the rose on the coffin, whispering, "I love you, baby." My voice cracked like glass. Daniel was my only child, my whole world. And now, Linda. I turned. Emily stood there, Daniel's wife. Her black dress hugged her figure like she was at a cocktail party, not burying her husband. Her face was dry, not a single tear. Before I could speak, she leaned close, her perfume choking me. Her lips barely moved as she whispered, "Now that your son is dead, pack your bags and get out." My ears rang. I blinked at her, thinking I misheard. "What?" My voice was barely a breath. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "You heard me. The house is ours now. You're done." "What are you, Emily, what are you saying? That house..." A laugh cut me off, low, mocking. I turned and saw him, a tall man standing right beside her. Ryan, Daniel's friend. I'd seen him a few times, always hanging around, always too comfortable in my kitchen. Ryan smirked and said loud enough for the people behind us to hear, "It's our house now." Our house? The ground tilted. My fingers dug into my coat pocket just to stay upright. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. Emily wrapped her arm around his like they were a couple, like they weren't standing over my son's grave. I whispered, "You! What are you talking about?" Emily tilted her head, voice sugar-sweet. "Daniel left everything to me. And Ryan, you've got nothing here anymore." The words hit harder than the priest's last prayer. My throat burned. I looked around. People were watching, pretending not to, whispering behind gloved hands. I just buried my son," I stammered. Emily's smile widened. "And now you can bury your old life too." Ryan chuckled, shoving his hands into his pockets like he owned the world. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear that smug grin off his face. But my legs wouldn't move. My lips wouldn't form words. So I did the only thing I could. I walked away. I walked past the cars, past the flowers, past the relatives offering empty condolences. I heard someone call my name, but it sounded like it came from miles away. I gripped the steering wheel in the parking lot until my knuckles turned white. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard I thought it would break through. Everything felt unreal, like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. Emily, kicking me out, at the funeral, with him. Daniel never told me about this. Never. Was Ryan? No. My stomach turned. I didn't want to finish the thought. I started the car and drove. I didn't remember the road, didn't remember the turns, just the taste of salt as tears streamed down my face. When I pulled into the driveway, my chest loosened a little. Home. At least I still had that. I climbed out, wiped my face, and grabbed the keys from my purse. My hands were shaking so bad the keys slipped twice. Finally, I shoved the key into the lock. It didn't turn. I tried again. Harder. My breath came fast. No, no, no. I bent down, my eye to the lock. New metal. Fresh scratches. They'd changed it. The keys fell from my hand, clinking on the porch. My house. My son's house. locked to me like I was a stranger. And that's when I realized Emily wasn't bluffing. She meant every word. I stood there frozen, staring at the lock like it had betrayed me too. My keys clinked against the door as I tried again, harder this time. Nothing. No, this couldn't be happening. I rattled the knob until my fingers hurt. Still nothing. The metal looked different, new scratches around the keyhole. My throat closed up. They changed the locks. I bent down, pressing my forehead to the door like somehow that would open it. My house. My son's house. The only thing I had left of him, and now even that was gone. I pounded on the door. "Emily, open this door right now!" Silence. I hit it again, harder. "Emily, I know you're in there!" The deadbolt clicked. Slowly, the door opened just a few inches. Emily's face appeared, calm, almost amused. "What are you doing?" I choked out. Why did you change the locks?" "I told you," she said softly, almost like she was explaining something to a child. "This isn't your home anymore." My voice shook. "That's my house, Emily. I paid for this with my husband. Daniel grew up here." Her lips curved into a small, cold smile. "And then he married me, which means it's mine now." I stared at her, searching her face for any sign of grief, any sign she was hurting like I was. Nothing, just ice. "Emily," I whispered, "please don't do this. I just buried my son." She tilted her head. "And I just buried my husband. We all lost something today." My stomach turned. Lost something? She sounds like she misplaced a pair of shoes, not a person. "You can stay at a hotel for a few days," she continued. "Or wherever, but you can't stay here." "You don't get to make that decision." My voice cracked, but I didn't care. "This house is mine." She smirked, and that's when I saw it. A piece of paper in her hand. She held it up like a trophy. "Not anymore. Daniel signed everything over to me." I blinked. "What?" "He changed the deed. And his accounts. It's all in my name now." "That's a lie," she shrugged. "Believe what you want, but the law doesn't care what you believe." And then he appeared. Ryan. Leaning against the doorway like he owned it. Arms sliding around her waist, so casual it made me sick. My mouth went dry. "What are you doing here?" he grinned. "What does it look like?" Emily's voice turned syrupy. "He's staying with me now. We'll take good care of the place." I stared at them, his hand on her hip, her cheek brushing his shoulder, right there in my living room. Daniel's living room. I wanted to tear the door off its hinges. "You disgust me," I whispered. Emily's smile widened. "You should go before this gets embarrassing." "I'm not leaving without proof." She raised an eyebrow. "You want proof? Fine." She shoved the paper closer, but before I could even read it, she yanked it back. "On second thought, no. You wouldn't understand legal stuff anyway." I felt my nails digging into my palms. "Emily." The door slammed in my face, hard. The sound echoed in my bones. I stood there for what felt like hours, staring at the wood grain, waiting for it to open again. It didn't. Finally, I stumbled back to my car. My legs barely worked. I sat in the driver's seat, clutching the wheel like it was the only solid thing left in my life. This can't be real. My son is gone. My home is gone. And the woman I thought was family, she's a stranger. Worse than a stranger. I don't remember driving. I just remember neon lights blinking in the dark and pulling into the first cheap motel I saw. The clerk barely looked at me as I slid cash across the counter. My hands shook so hard the bills almost slipped. "Just one night," I mumbled. Room 12 smelled like old cigarettes and broken promises. I sank onto the bed, my whole body hollow. I opened my phone. Photo after photo of Daniel filled the screen. His smile, his graduation, his wedding day. All lies. Or maybe I just never saw the truth. I swiped until my thumb hurt. My chest ached like someone had taken a hammer to it, Finally, I forced myself to check something else. My bank account. I needed to know what I had left. The numbers loaded on the screen, and that's when the bottom fell out of my world. The screen loaded slowly, like it knew what it was about to show me would destroy me. My fingers were damp against the phone. Motel walls closed in on me. Yellow light buzzing overhead. Finally, the numbers appeared. 0. Not low. Not missing a few hundred. 0. My heart slammed against my ribs. I blinked hard, thinking I read it wrong. I logged out, logged back in. Still the same, $0 on dollars, staring at me like a cruel joke. No, I whispered, clutching the phone like I could squeeze the truth out of it. That account had our savings. Daniel and I built it together after his father died. It was supposed to keep us safe. Gone, all of it gone. I opened the recent transactions. My breath caught. Transfers, big ones, weeks before Daniel's death, and the name next to the last transfer, Emily Carter. My blood turned cold. I hit call on the bank's number. It rang 3 times before a woman picked up. "Thank you for calling Valley Trust. How can I help you?" "My account..." My voice cracked. I swallowed hard. "There's been a mistake. My savings account is empty." "May I have your account number, ma'am?" I rattled it off with shaking hands. I could hear the click of her keyboard through the line. "All right, I'm seeing recent authorized transfers," she said calmly, like she wasn't gutting me alive. "Authorized? By who?" "By Mr. Daniel Carter." I froze. "That's my son." "Yes, ma'am. The transfers were initiated by him about 3 weeks ago." My mouth went dry. "That can't be right. He wouldn't do that without telling me." "There are signed forms on file." "What forms?" "Transfer of funds. He moved the balance into a separate account. Beneficiary listed as Emily Carter." Emily, of course. The phone slipped from my hand and hit the scratchy motel sheets. My chest felt like it was caving in. I picked it back up, my voice barely a whisper. "Can you send me copies?" "Yes, ma'am. They'll be in your email shortly." I hung up without saying goodbye. My hands shook so bad, I could barely set the phone down. Emily planned this. Weeks before Daniel died, she was already moving the money. Did he know? Did he agree to it? Or did she push him into it? My mind went back to little things. Daniel brushing me off when I asked about bills, saying, "Don't worry, Mom, Emily's handling it." Emily being extra sweet when she invited me for dinner last month. Her smile when Daniel left the room. Too tight. Too rehearsed. God, how blind was I? I sank back on the bed, staring at the ceiling that reeked of smoke. My head pounded. Grief and rage twisted inside me like barbed wire. She took my son. She took my house. And now I knew. She took everything else, too. I sat up, grabbing the motel's cheap coffee pot. My hands moved on their own, pouring water, pressing buttons. I needed something hot, something bitter to keep me from collapsing. The coffee tasted like burnt dirt, but it kept me breathing. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at the screen, waiting for those documents, my whole life reduced to PDFs and signatures I didn't understand. Finally, the phone buzzed. I grabbed it, thinking it was the bank. But it wasn't. Unknown number. "Meet me tomorrow. I know the truth about your son." My stomach dropped. I stared at that message until the letters burned into my eyes. "Meet me tomorrow. I know the truth about your son." My first instinct was to delete it. It screamed scam, but something in my gut said it wasn't random. The timing was too perfect. So now I was sitting in a corner booth at Miller's Diner, the kind of place where the coffee tastes like dishwater and the fries always smell like old grease. My hands were wrapped around a chipped mug, more for something to hold than for warmth. Every creak of the door made my stomach clench. Then I saw him. Gray hair slicked back, denim jacket faded from too many washes, a face lined like a map of bad choices. He slid into the booth across from me without asking. "You Linda?" "Yes." My voice barely made it out. "Who are you?" "Name's Frank." He stuck out a hand. I didn't take it. "Why did you text me?" Because you deserve to know what really happened. I gripped the mug tighter. What are you talking about? He leaned forward, elbows on the table. I worked with your boy, Daniel. My throat closed. You knew my son? Yeah. Good kid, honest. Too honest, if you ask me. He sighed, like this was hard for him. We talked, a lot, especially after things with Emily started going south. My breath hitched. South? What do you mean? She was controlling. Always had to know where he was, what he was spending. He told me she even started handling all the money. Said it made him feel like a damn child. I swallowed hard. That sounded like Emily. Sweet to the world, but with Daniel, she always had her hooks in him. He said he was thinking about changing things, Frank continued. Said he didn't trust her anymore. Was planning to fix his will. Put everything back in your name. My hands went cold. He told you that? Word for word. Frank leaned back. He didn't get the chance. A sharp pain shot through my chest. All this time I thought Daniel just forgot about me. But he didn't. He wanted to protect me. I stared at the Formica table, blinking back tears, when Frank's voice cut through. That Ryan guy? The one you saw at the funeral? I looked up. What about him? Frank's jaw tightened. He wasn't just Daniel's friend. Something in the way he said it made my stomach twist. What do you mean? Ryan's been with Emily for years. Behind your boy's back. My breath caught. No, Daniel would have... He didn't know. Or if he did, it was too late to matter. Frank's voice softened, but it didn't make the words hurt any less. They wanted his money, Linda. That's all this was ever about. I gripped the edge of the table so hard, my knuckles turned white. Emily and Ryan, smiling at the funeral like they'd won. Because they had. I forced out, "Why are you telling me this?" Frank shrugged. Because I liked your boy. He didn't deserve this. And you don't either. I stared at him for a long time. What do I do now? Be careful. He slid out of the booth, tossing a few dollars on the table for his untouched coffee. They're not going to stop. People like that never do. And just like that, he was gone. I sat there for a full minute, staring at the greasy fry basket between us, my pulse hammering in my ears. Be careful. I walked out into the parking lot, the cold air slapping my face like a warning. My old sedan was parked under a flickering streetlight. I climbed in, gripping the wheel like it was a lifeline. I started the engine, checked the mirror, and froze. Headlights. Bright. Too close. A black SUV idled behind me. As I pulled out, so did they. My gut clenched. They were following me. The headlights stayed in my mirror. 1 turn, 2 turns, 3. Still there. My palms slicked against the steering wheel as I gripped it tighter, every nerve in my body screaming that this wasn't just some random driver. Please don't be them, I whispered to the empty car. I took a sudden left onto a side street, heart pounding so hard it hurt. The SUV followed. My breath hitched. Another right, another left. Same headlights. Closer now. I could barely breathe as the motel sign came into view like a neon promise of safety. But I didn't pull in. Not yet. If they saw where I was staying, no. I pushed the gas, heart hammering, and swung into a gas station instead. The fluorescent lights blinded me for a second as I pulled up to a pump and killed the engine. I sat there, frozen, pretending to scroll my phone, praying they'd just pass. The SUV slowed. For one terrifying second, it sat there behind me like a predator watching prey. Then, without warning, it sped off into the night. I slumped forward, forehead against the steering wheel, my chest heaving. My entire body shook like I'd just run a marathon. They were watching me. I knew it now. Emily and Ryan weren't done with me. They were just getting started. I stepped out, the cold night air hitting me like ice water, and walked into the tiny gas station store. My legs felt like they didn't belong to me. The clerk barely looked up as I scanned the shelves. My eyes landed on what I needed. Prepaid phones. Cheap, untraceable, the kind you see in crime shows. I picked one up, fingers trembling, and set it on the counter. The clerk rang it up without a word. As I shoved the burner phone into my coat pocket, I caught my reflection in the smudged glass door on the way out. For a second, I didn't recognize the woman staring back. Hollow eyes, tight jaw, a stranger wearing my face. I drove back to the motel with every nerve on edge, checking the mirror so often my neck ached. No one followed this time, or maybe they were just better at hiding now. The motel parking lot was empty, too quiet. I slipped into my room, bolted the door, and shoved the chair under the knob. It didn't help, because a few hours later, the knock came. 3 soft taps. My heart stopped. I grabbed the lamp, holding it like a weapon, and crept to the peephole. Nothing. I yanked the door open anyway, rage bubbling under my fear. Empty hallway. Just shadows stretching under the buzzing light. I slammed the door, chest heaving, and slid to the floor. Sleep never came. I just lay there, staring at the water-stained ceiling, listening for every sound, every breath. By the time the sky lightened, something inside me had shifted. Grief wasn't enough anymore. Fear wasn't enough. If they wanted a war, they'd get one. I picked up the burner phone, my fingers steady for the first time in days, and dialed the bank. Valley Trust. How can I help you? This is Linda Carter. I need to confirm something about my accounts. The voice on the other end hesitated. Yes, ma'am. What do you need? My name should still be on my husband's life insurance policy, right? Silence. Then, actually, ma'am, that policy was changed 2 months ago. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles cracked. Changed? To who? The answer made my blood run cold. The bank rep's voice sounded calm, too calm for the words she was saying. I'm looking at the file right now, she said, and honestly, Mrs. Carter, something seems off. I gripped the burner phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Off how? She hesitated, which made my stomach twist even harder. The signature on the house transfer. It doesn't look consistent with your son's previous documents. And the date, it was filed just 2 weeks before his accident. 2 weeks. My breath caught. Are you telling me? I'm saying it looks suspicious. I can't make an official statement, but if I were you, I'd request a copy. Maybe have someone verify it. I pressed my hand against my chest, feeling my heartbeat slamming like a drum. Suspicious. That one word shot through me like electricity. I want those copies, I said. My voice didn't shake this time. Email. Now. Of course, ma'am. I'll send them right away. I ended the call and sat frozen on the edge of the motel bed, staring at the peeling wallpaper while my phone buzzed with new emails. When I opened the first PDF, my hands shook so badly I had to steady them against my knees. There it was, the deed transfer, and the signature at the bottom. Daniel's name. But it didn't look right. The letters were uneven, sloppy, like someone trying too hard. Emily. My teeth clenched so hard my jaw ached. I printed everything at the library, the old machine groaning like it hated secrets. Each sheet of paper felt heavier than the last as I stacked them neatly, sliding them into a manila folder. Then I took them to a notary I found online. Cheap, discreet, no questions asked. The office smelled like old books and dust, and the man behind the counter barely looked up as I spread out the pages. Tell me what you see, I said. He adjusted his glasses, studied the papers for maybe 30 seconds, then looked at me. This isn't the same handwriting. Whoever signed this wasn't the same person who signed the other documents. My throat went dry. So it's forged? He shrugged like this was nothing. Looks like it. Those words hit me like a lifeline. Proof. Finally, proof. I gathered the papers carefully, my fingers buzzing with something I hadn't felt in weeks. Power. On the drive back, my head spun with plans. I'd save everything. The texts Emily sent, the calls she ignored, the bank statements. I'd build a case so strong she wouldn't know what hit her. If Emily thought she could erase me like I didn't exist, she was about to learn just how wrong she was. By the time I reached the motel, my manila folder was packed with highlighted copies, sticky notes marking every lie, every signature that didn't match. I sat at the tiny desk, documenting everything, my coffee growing cold beside me. For the first time since Daniel's funeral, I felt something close to hope. And then the phone rang. Emily. Her name lit up the screen like a warning flare. I let it ring twice before I answered. Hello? My voice came out calm. Too calm. You're making a big mistake, she said. Her tone was ice wrapped in silk. Meet me tomorrow, alone. Before I could reply, the line went dead. I didn't sleep the night before. I lay there staring at the water stains on the motel ceiling, wondering what Emily really wanted. Was it a trap? A threat? Or was she so confident she thought she could still win me over? By morning, my nerves were stretched thin, but I dressed carefully. Plain clothes, nothing flashy. I slipped 2 things into my bag, the manila folder with all my copies, and the tiny recorder I bought at the gas station. If she wanted a meeting, she was going to give me something worth keeping. The cafe was warm and smelled like burnt coffee and sugar, but it felt cold the moment I saw her. Emily sat by the window, black coat draped over her chair, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. She waved when she saw me, smiling like this was some casual brunch. I slid into the booth across from her, forcing my hands to stay steady. Linda, she said brightly, like we were friends, you look, well. I bit back the laugh clawing at my throat. Cut the act. Why am I here? Her smile faltered for just a second before she leaned in, lowering her voice. Because I'm trying to give you a chance to walk away. My chest burned. Walk away from my own life? From my son's house? From something you can't win. Her voice was smooth as glass. Daniel wanted me to have everything. That was his choice. Funny, I said, keeping my tone calm. He never told me that. She shrugged, picking at her perfectly manicured nails. He didn't tell you a lot of things, like how tired he was of taking care of you. My stomach twisted, but I didn't flinch. You really expect me to believe that? Emily leaned back, crossing her legs slowly, like she was posing for a magazine. Believe what you want, but you're old, Linda. You can start over somewhere else. I'll even give you a little money to get by. Be smart about this. My nails dug into my palms under the table. Old. Start over. Her words felt like knives, but I kept my face calm. That's generous, I said softly, considering you already took everything. Her eyes narrowed for the first time. You think you're clever, huh? I don't think anything, I replied, glancing at my phone on the table, camera facing her, recording every word. But then I saw it in her eyes. She knew. Her hand shot across the table, snatching my phone before I could react. What the hell is this? She hissed, scrolling. I kept my voice steady. You think I wouldn't protect myself after what you've done? She slammed the phone down hard enough to rattle the cups. Delete it. Go ahead, I said calmly, clutching the strap of my purse where the second recorder was hidden. Delete whatever you want. Her jaw tightened. You're playing a dangerous game, Linda. And you think I'm scared of you? Emily leaned in so close I could smell her perfume. Sharp, expensive, suffocating. You'll regret this. I stared back, my heartbeat steady now. We'll see. I stood, leaving her there with my phone in her hand but my real insurance safe in my bag. I walked out into the crisp air, each step harder, stronger than the last. But when I opened the door to my motel room, the strength drained out of me. The door was wide open, and everything inside was tossed, ripped apart like a storm had blown through. My folder, the one with all the papers, was gone. The motel room looked like a crime scene. The mattress was flipped, my clothes scattered across the floor like trash. The lamp I left on was shattered in the corner, its cord curling like a dead snake. And the folder, the one with every copy, every piece of proof I'd gathered, was gone. I stood frozen in the doorway, my breath shallow, until my fingers clenched around the strap of my purse. I tore it open, digging through with shaking hands. The recorder, still there. Thank God. Emily thought she'd stripped me bare, but she didn't know I'd been smart enough to keep the most important piece of evidence on me. Still, the sight of that wrecked room punched the air from my lungs. They'd been here. While I was at that cafe with her, someone, Ryan maybe, was tearing apart my life all over again. I forced myself to move, stepping over broken glass as I grabbed what little they hadn't stolen. My coat, my wallet, my second phone. The rest didn't matter now. I drove straight to the police station, heart hammering, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles burned. The officer at the front desk barely looked up as I walked in. "Can I help you, ma'am?" His tone sounded like I was asking for directions, not reporting a crime. "Yes," I said, planting my hands on the counter so he'd have to look at me. "Someone broke into my motel room. They stole important documents. They know where I am." He sighed, tapping at a keyboard like this was routine. "You staying long term?" "No, just passing through." "Any valuables taken?" "Yes, legal papers. Evidence. I think—" I leaned in, lowering my voice. "I think my daughter-in-law and her boyfriend are behind this." His brows barely lifted. "Family dispute, then?" My jaw tightened. "This isn't a dispute. This is harassment. They've stolen everything from me. My house, my money, now this." He scribbled something on a notepad without even asking for names. "We'll file it. You'll get a case number." "That's it?" "Ma'am," he said, his voice flat. "If you think someone broke in, maybe change motels. Don't tell anyone where you're staying." Heat flushed my face. I wanted to scream, but what was the point? I wasn't getting help here. I snatched the slip of paper with the useless case number and walked out. The sky was already dark, shadows stretching long across the pavement. I drove until the neon lights of another motel blinked in the distance. This time, I paid cash, gave a fake name. Marie James. The clerk didn't care. Inside the new room, I locked the door, shoved the chair under the knob, and sat on the bed, clutching my purse like a weapon. Fear clawed at me. But underneath it, something stronger burned. Emily wanted me broken, hiding, crawling away. But she'd made one mistake. She underestimated me. I pulled out my laptop and logged into my email, ready to dig deeper, and that's when I saw it. "Your safety deposit box appointment is confirmed for tomorrow." My heart kicked against my ribs. The box. I'd almost forgotten. Inside it were deeds, insurance papers, things Emily couldn't touch, things she didn't even know existed, and maybe, just maybe, something that could bury her for good. The bank doors slid open with a soft hiss, but the sound made my chest tighten like I was stepping into a courtroom instead of a lobby. I walked straight to the counter, clutching my ID so hard the edges dug into my palm. "Good morning," the teller said with that polite smile they all wear like a mask. "I have an appointment," I replied. My voice came out low, steady, though inside my stomach was knotted tight. She nodded and led me through a side door. Each step echoed on the polished tile floor, and all I could think was, if Emily knew I was here, she'd tear the walls down to stop me. In the vault room, the air felt cooler, heavy with the weight of everyone's secrets locked behind steel. The clerk slid a long box toward me and left me alone. My hands hovered for a moment before I lifted the lid. Inside, time seemed to freeze. Old deeds, insurance papers, a marriage certificate worn from years of storage. I moved them carefully, like touching the past might make it break. And then I saw it, a folded envelope with Daniel's handwriting on the front. "Mom." The letters blurred as my eyes filled with tears. My fingers shook as I tore it open, breath catching at the first words. "I've made mistakes. I should have kept things like they were. I'm going to fix it, Mom. The house, the accounts, they'll be yours again. I promise." My throat closed, and a sob slipped out before I could stop it. I pressed the paper to my chest, rocking slightly like it could bring him back for just 1 second. He wanted to make it right. He didn't forget me. He didn't leave me behind. I laid the letter flat, reading it twice, 3 times. It wasn't notarized. It wouldn't hold up in court the way I needed. But it proved intent. It proved everything Emily told me was a lie. "This is it," I whispered, wiping my cheeks with the back of my hand. "This is my proof." I tucked the letter into my purse with the insurance papers and deeds, sealing the box shut like I was locking away a piece of my heart. When I walked back through the bank lobby, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope, and fire. Emily thought she'd buried me, but I wasn't done yet. I had just stepped into the sunlight when my phone rang. Her name lit up the screen like a warning. I answered, voice flat. "What do you want?" Emily's tone was sweet as poison. "Just thought you should know. It's too late, Linda. We're selling the house tomorrow." The line went dead before I could breathe. I stood there on the sidewalk, clutching the phone so hard my knuckles burned. The traffic roared in my ears, but all I could hear were her words. Tomorrow. I didn't wait. The second I hung up on Emily, I started moving. By morning, I was dressed in my best clothes, the only things that weren't tossed or stolen. I printed everything I had. Daniel's letter, the bank statements, the recording transcript. Every page felt like a weapon in my hands. If Emily thought she could erase me, she was about to learn who she was dealing with. The real estate office smelled like fresh paint and fake smiles. I walked in like I belonged there because I did. That house was mine, always had been. Emily was sitting at the signing table, her hair perfect, nails glinting as she flipped through papers. Ryan lounged in the chair next to her, legs spread like he owned the place. A young realtor hovered nearby, too eager, too polite to see the rot in the room. Emily looked up, that smug smile spreading like poison. "Linda, what a surprise." "Not a surprise," I said, my voice steady. "A warning." Ryan chuckled, leaning back. "You really don't know when to quit, do you?" I stepped forward, dropping the folder on the table with a hard smack. Pages spilled like confetti. "You want to sell my house? Try explaining this first." Emily's eyes flicked to the papers, and for the first time, her smile faltered. Daniel's letter lay on top, his handwriting screaming the truth. "I'm changing everything back to Mom." Next to it, the forged deed copy with 2 different signatures circled in red. And finally, a small device, the recorder, with one saved file labeled Cafe Meeting. Emily snatched the paper, scanning it, color draining from her face. This doesn't mean anything." "It means enough for the police," I said. "Forgery, fraud, theft." I looked straight at the realtor, who had gone pale as milk. "If you move forward with this sale, you're part of a crime." I can't," the realtor stammered, backing away from the table. "I need to make some calls." Ryan shot up, fists clenched. "You sneaky little—" "Careful," I cut in, pulling my phone out slow. "Because if you touch me, the cops will love that too. Oh, and guess what? They already have this recording." Emily's jaw locked, but I saw it. The crack in her perfect mask. She knew I had her cornered. I leaned in, my voice low and sharp. "If you don't leave my house today, I swear I'll drag you both through court until you choke on your lies." For a moment, no one spoke. The air was so tight it felt like it would snap. Then Emily shoved back her chair, the legs screeching against the tile. She grabbed her bag with shaking hands. "This isn't over," she hissed, her eyes burning into mine like knives. I stared back, unblinking. "Oh, Emily, it's just starting." She stormed out, Ryan throwing one last curse over his shoulder before slamming the door so hard the glass rattled. And for the first time in weeks, I exhaled. My hands were still shaking, but not from fear anymore, from victory, until a cold thought slid in like a shadow. Emily wasn't the type to give up, and she'd just promised me a war. When the realtor handed me the keys, my fingers shook so badly I almost dropped them. I drove to the house in silence, gripping the steering wheel like it could hold me together. Every mile felt heavier than the last until the driveway came into view. My house. The paint looked duller, the windows streaked with dust, but it was mine again. For a second, I let myself breathe. I unlocked the door, and the smell hit me. Not home, not warmth. Stale air, cheap cologne. Ryan's cologne. I gritted my teeth and pushed inside. The rooms were stripped bare, furniture gone, curtains ripped down. Even the pictures on the walls had vanished like they wanted to erase every trace of me. But the bones of it were still here. And so was I. I set my purse on the counter and whispered to the empty kitchen, "You didn't win, Emily. Not this time." The first thing I did was call a locksmith. While I waited, I walked through the house, my footsteps echoing. Every corner felt haunted. Not by ghosts, but by memories. Daniel's laughter down the hallway, his muddy shoes by the back door, all gone. The locksmith came and went, new locks on every door, deadbolts so heavy I could feel their weight when I turned the key. Then I installed cameras, front porch, back patio, driveway. My hands moved fast, like if I slowed down, the fear would catch me. By the time the sun dipped low, I was scrubbing the counters like I could wipe Emily off the surface of my life. My muscles ached, my knees burned, but I didn't stop. When I finally collapsed onto the couch, the only piece of furniture left, I told myself I should feel safe. I didn't, because every shadow felt wrong. Every creak in the walls made my chest tighten. I checked the cameras twice, then 3 times, locked the doors, slid the chair under the knob just like at the motel, and still, sleep wouldn't come. Around midnight, I heard it, a soft thump from the porch. I froze, heart pounding so loud it drowned out the wind. Probably nothing, just the breeze, maybe a branch. Then came the sound that made my blood run cold. 3 slow knocks on the door. The knock on the door that night didn't come from Emily. It was the wind. I knew because I sat up for hours listening, every nerve frayed, until exhaustion finally pulled me under. Morning came with gray light spilling through bare windows, and for the first time in weeks, my phone didn't bring bad news. It brought justice. "Mrs. Carter?" The voice on the other end was steady, official. "This is Detective Harris with the county police. I wanted to update you. Emily Carter was taken into custody this morning." For a second, I couldn't speak. Taken... why? She attempted to submit forged documents for a property sale. The notary flagged it. When we ran the signatures, they matched the complaint you filed. My hand gripped the phone so tight it hurt. "So, she's going to jail?" "There will be a hearing, but yes, she's facing multiple charges: fraud, forgery, attempted theft." "And Ryan?" My voice cracked on his name. There was a pause. "He's gone. Skipped town last night. We'll issue a warrant." I closed my eyes and whispered, "Thank you." After I hung up, I just stood there in the middle of my empty kitchen, phone pressed to my chest. I should have felt triumph, power, some grand sense of victory. But all I felt was quiet, because Daniel was still gone, and nothing, no court ruling, no arrest, could change that. I walked down the hallway to his room. The door creaked the same way it always had. Inside, the air smelled faintly of dust and memories. His bed was stripped bare, his posters gone, but on the nightstand, one thing remained, the photo of us from last Christmas, him grinning with that crooked smile, his arms slung around me like I was his whole world. My knees buckled as I sat on the edge of his bed, clutching the frame so hard my fingers ached. "I did it, baby," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I took it back, everything they tried to steal." Tears slid down my cheeks and splashed on the glass. "I hope you're proud of me. God, I hope you know I never stopped fighting for you." I don't know how long I sat there, rocking that photo like it was him, long enough for the sun to shift across the floor, long enough for the ache in my chest to settle into something softer. Not happiness, not even peace, just freedom. When I finally stood, I set the picture back in its place and looked around the empty room. Life would never be the same, but for the first time in weeks, I felt like maybe, just maybe, it could go on, and this time it would be mine.